these have a pretty strong spring inside of them, so you've got to go around here and kind of circle around it until they all get a little tighter. So it's starting to suck it down now. I'm going to back them out just a little bit. See, this corner over here is getting a little bit, I think the word is funky. It's a little weird. It's like it's kind of rotated oddly or something. Start this one. So I thought about using an adjustable pressure regulator on this, and then pretty quickly decided against it because I just don't need that amount of control. I can set this at the stock, 42 psi or whatever it ends up being, and then just leave it and tune the injection around it rather than tuning the fuel pressure. Again, I'm not going for high horsepower here. This is a reliability thing, and that is so odd that it sticks out this side so much more. This is a reliability thing and a single RPM. So we should be pretty okay to make that all work. With a pretty simple system here. In one of the previous videos, I talked about the injectors for this. These are from a BMW motorcycle. I am not exactly sure what bike it is from. I could look it up, but they're very small injectors with a nice spray pattern for a small engine. These are, I believe, 14-pound injectors, which, if anybody has done automotive stuff, like a 5-liter V8 or something would use something like a 24-pound injector. A 5.7 would actually a 5 liter would use a 19-pound injector from the factory, and a 5.7 liter would use a 24-pound injector. So these are only 14s, which is I'm trying to get it so they have to have a little bit of dwell time, a little bit of on time to get the right amount of fueling for 1800 RPM. So that's the idea here. So I think that is done. So we can set this aside for now. At this point, the intake is ready to go on. I have I've sprayed off the engine here with brake clean at this point, and I am ready to put some sealant on here as well as clean up the intake manifold, and then the intake manifold will go on the engine here. We're going to do a quick test fit before I do the final cleaning here, just to see how much gap is in the top here. On small block Chevrolets, you don't have to put the front and rear gaskets in at all. I'm wondering if I can do that here. Yeah, that looks very warped to me. What is going on there? Okay, it's just not pushing down all the way. Okay. Okay, so that looks like about the same thing. It looks like I'm going to be able to put a bead of sealant here and a bead of sealant on the front here to be able to just put this thing down. I don't believe I need the gaskets. I will need, obviously, the side gaskets. So let's get the final cleaning done on these, and then we'll go ahead and put these together. Everybody has their own method of doing this, but this is the one I've been using. I tend to not have intake leaks. I have lots of other leaks, but I don't usually have intake leaks. Every Chevrolet I've ever owned has leaked. No Japanese car that I've ever owned has ever leaked. So if that says something. I have already done this a multitude of times, so this is kind of a little bit of cheap insurance here. It's been sitting out for a couple of days. I'm not getting any extra dust or fingerprint grease or anything else off of here. I've already gone through and vacuumed out any chunks that had fallen down from cleaning off the gaskets. I had rags over the top of this stuff when doing that cleaning, so we should be pretty good to go here. This is the only stuff I ever use for this kind of thing, the right stuff. I'm not sponsored by these guys or anything, but hey Permatex, if you want to sponsor me, that would be fantastic. I've been using this stuff for quite a long time, and you can put diff covers on with it. You can put just about anything on with it with no gasket, as long as the gasket isn't there for some thickness, right? It's not going to hit the gear. So as long as you have a really clean surface on these things, you'll do just fine with the right stuff. You put it on, and that's about it. You just put it on, put the thing together, and you're kind of done. So the magical areas on GM engines is kind of right here underneath the gasket, across this little section here. Okay, I think we're ready for some gaskets here. I don't believe that there is a side up. Yes, that makes sense. I don't believe that there's a side to these. I think they're just symmetrical. One of the things I didn't notice was on these, there are some little pegs that hold them down right here. One on each side. So it's not very much. You do have to make sure that that gets into the right place there. I wish I had, I tried to get these out, and I wish I had not tried to get them out, because when I tried to do so, it broke off the top. And these gaskets have they came with little plastic centering little nubs that you stick in there. And those would have been fine, but I had already tried to take these out and they did not come out. So I've got to push them around. So that one's holding it okay. This one keeps popping up. So we're just going to have to kind of... There we go. Okay. I just took up, there's a little bit of a distance problem left to right here. So I took up, by bending here and here, I pulled out some of the distance of it, and it pulls down a little bit better now. So just bending these guys in a little bit. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to go around the front and the back of this one more time. I'm going to go right over the top of this gasket here. Just right here and right here. This is a pretty typical V-engine thing. So whether you're used to Fords or Chevrolets or whatever, they're all fairly similar here. Okay, and now I believe that we are ready to set this intake in place. Let's make sure to put it on the correct direction forward. Not that it would matter, actually, since this engine is just going to sit outside. Okay, so the thing I'm worried about here is whether or not this is going into the hole. It sure looks like it is. It dropped down nice and flat, so I'm going to call that okay. I don't see any gap here, so I think we're good. I'll just go through here and start these bolts up. Are we ready to put the plenums on here? The rest of these manifolds. That one's not quite ready, mainly just because this is in the way. Now I can get rid of that. It's just there to keep the engine a little more level. I can also just move it somewhere else too. So, okay, that's the right move here. Let's do that. Let's put it somewhere where it's just not as much in the way. Is there such a place? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's going to be just as bad. Okay, let's just not do it. How's that? Done. We're done not doing it. Okay, so that's going to go on something like that. And I've got to find the correct bolts for that. Let's see here. Got a whole pile of longer ones over there. There we go. These are the right ones. Okay, those all look good. This is the longer of the two. Nope, that's too short. Must be one more long one. Indeed, there's one more long one. Okay, so that's how this is going to go. Now what we have to do is make sure we have this the correct direction, because this is going to bolt onto here. And it looks like it needs to go this direction because we want that in the back. Okay. Blade that's nice and flat. Notice that there's some spots like this that are low. I feel this, it feels nice and smooth. And like here, there's a piece of aluminum that kind of sticks up right there and then low spots on either side of it. So hopefully that will help it seal a little bit. It's almost like that paint is acting like a, like primer would, right? It's filling some of the gaps. Gasket really likes to fall out the bottom here. Trying to maintain the height of this at the same time as getting everything started, but it's not being kind to me, that's for sure. Okay. That's started now. There we go. I will caveat this whole operation with, I think this is the correct side. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to take this off, or cut this off, because it doesn't fit with this intake. Okay, yeah, that's not going to work with this intake, so this is going to have to get cut off. No big deal. I'll just have to, yeah, it's going to have to come off. It's welded onto the valve cover there. I'd rather not put a hole through here, you know, drill these out or something. I'd rather not do that, just because I don't want to have any possibility of oil coming through here. I'd love to get right back in behind here and cut this off right here, but I don't know how easy that's going to be either. So I'm gonna have to scratch my head a little bit on this one. We'll, I think what I'm gonna do is sort of put it on to let the gaskets stick down to that corner right there enough without putting it fully on, because I do have a little bit of sealant on there on the bottom side of it. So let's get it partially on. I wonder if this front part is going to have the same problem. Just lining up the gaskets there. There's always something when you're doing something custom. It's always something. Never fails. Well, that's what makes it fun, right? We do these kinds of things because most people won't. Just being honest. See it as too much hassle, or maybe they just don't know what they're doing, or who knows. Everyone has their own reasons for everything. Pretty happy with this one. It's going on nicely. I don't want to over tighten these, by the way. Just going to snug them just a little bit to get that front and back to seal on the gasket holder there. And then do this one as well. This bottom part right here isn't touching at all, really. Oh, now we are. Okay, good. Right. I can send it up here. You're probably watching me take this off and on the socket here, but these bolts have this sort of pin coming up, and they hold the spark plug wires, and it almost comes out the end of this socket. It's just a little bit shy, and it allows the this to go on and tighten it up, but not all. It doesn't allow me to push it all the way in. So that's good for now. I'm going to let these dry. Let this gasket will basically be stuck on the engine block side of this, tomorrow, effectively. At which point I'll take this valve cover back off and cut that bracket off, and then, repaint where I took it off. This is really the first time I've done a full, mock-up of this. But there's no sealant on the top touching the valve cover. It's just on the bottom where that gasket hits the head. The head and the intake come together at a spot right here and right here. And right where those spots are on both sides of here, I put a little bit of sealant so the gasket can seal around those little areas. There's kind of the crack where the gasket, basically the head, the intake manifold, and the gasket all come together. All right, so you can see that I've got this bracket cut off of here. I just sprayed some paint on there to keep it from rusting. Also, I went ahead and I was cutting this off with a hacksaw on the engine here. So I went ahead and taped up all of the holes to make sure that I don't get anything inside of the engine. I'm going to pull all that off, and then we'll put the intake back on. We'll probably speed through that. But before I do that, I'd like to show you a little trick. Most of you probably know this if you've done this stuff for a bit. But you just take a piece of cardboard, pop a bunch of holes in it. I just used this, poked a bunch of new holes in, and then pushed all the bolts in. And then you can spray paint a bunch of the bolt heads all at one time. These have already been run through the vibrator with the walnut shells in it. So they were pretty good. But in order to protect them, this thing's going to be outside all the time. So I wanted to protect them a little bit more. So I put some paint on them. It's just black engine paint, nothing special. But that's a really nice way to do it, so you don't waste a whole bunch of paint. You can just go over it, turn it, go over it again, turn it, go over it again, turn it, go over it again, and you're basically done. Did those the other night. They're all dry now. I have way more to do. I'll just pull all these bolts out and then put new bolts in those holes, and off we go. Here's the water neck. That's all cleaned up. Got some other components that I cleaned up as well. Exhibit A, I went ahead and cleaned up the bell housing here. Still has a little bit of grease that's kind of stubborn in the inside here. I'm not sure I'm going to care about that. It's going to be fine. I'll paint the outside of it because that's going to be the part that's in the weather and so forth. I will probably paint the inside of it as well. But the main thing is just to get it protected from the weather, so it doesn't just disintegrate. Past that, I went ahead and bead blasted this. This is the alternator mount. So that's about ready for paint. Once that dries, it's still a little bit wet. I washed it off with water after. Look at that. You can see just because there was some water in it, it's already starting to rust since I bead blasted it. It's that fast. Get that wiped out so it doesn't continue across the whole thing. Yeah, freshly bead blasted metal rusts in a matter of minutes. It's kind of amazing to watch. You can literally watch it happen. So if you don't get it dried off fast enough, which I did not, I put it on a shelf and started working on something else. But yeah, that's going to be just fine though. There's a couple little surface rust there, but it's going to be just fine. I'll spray these with some engine paint, or maybe not even engine paint. Maybe I'll just use some regular paint on these. They don't get that hot. But I do have a lot of engine paint, so it should be fine. Anyway, these are bead blasted. Should be pretty fine. Need to go through here and get the sand that I got in there from the bead blasting out. You can see there's a bunch of chunks of it right in here. So I'll go through and just shove something in there and try to get those out before I paint it. This is not a show thing. I don't really care that much about amazing good looks, but I want it to last. So that's what I'm doing there. The next thing to do is to get this intake back on, as we had done before. And this time leave it on because The bracket is no longer there. This is going to fit now, and the valve covers are now on, so it's going to stay. One thing that I need to do before I do that is to tighten the valve cover bolts down properly. I've not done that yet, so I think we're going to do that now, and then we'll move on to doing some other things, putting the intake on specifically. Need to figure out again which bolts go where, as I did last time. So we're going to start by just taking all of these bolts out. Painted the bolt heads of every one of these to make it a little bit nicer and to make it last a little bit longer. I'm pretty impressed with how nice this hardware is, actually. It's actually pretty nice. And the bolts weren't protected at all, but with a little bit of time in the walnut shells and the vibrator, they look basically brand new, which is more than I can say for a lot of hardware I've used in the past. All right, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. It's like these three go in the same locations on this side. And there's a middle length one for a couple of them. Oh, nothing there. One here looks good as well. And one back here that also looks good. Okay, and then these ones are going to be the ones that are going to hold our fuel pressure regulator and such down. So we'll keep those for later. All right, folks, I got lazy. When you do it the second time, you're better at it, but you're lazy too, right? It's always better the second time now. That's going to be good for now. I think I'm going to call it a day. It's looking pretty good here. I was also able to pull off this front accessory bracket that I have not had off since the engine was being held up by it. But since this is off, I could put this in the bead blaster and get it cleaned up and paint it. And then we'll be in business. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you're having fun. I'm super excited to get this thing together. It's going to be really nice to be able to fire this thing up and actually see it run. I still need so many more parts and doodads for this thing to get it running. I still need to get an ECU for it. I still need to put the crankshaft sensor on it. I still need to put the RPM sensor on the back. I still need to put my distributor in it, time it up for one, put the spark plugs on, spark coils, wire all those up, put a wiring harness on it, put the starter back on it, put it on the stand, hook some battery to it, and then fire it up and then tune it right at 1800 RPM and get that RPM controller working. And hopefully it'll be a flip of a switch. You start it up, it'll sit there and idle. You flip a switch and it goes up to 1800 RPM and will maintain 1800 RPM as long as it possibly can. So that's the plan. Nothing ever goes to plan. So let's have fun while we're doing it. If it doesn't go to plan, then it is what it is. We'll find another plan. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.